Hey, boys and girls. So, are we ready to read the next chapter? I don't know about you, but that last chapter was a huge page turner. It really got me on the edge of my seat. So, the next chapter we're going to read is called Is the Weather Good for Fishing? So, I wonder what that title really has to do with everything that we're reading about, but there might be. So, really think about that. Now, today's vocabulary word is going to be tentative. So that just means uncertain, not sure. So look out for that vocabulary word as I read this chapter. And then keep in mind, make sure that, you've got your journal open, you're taking notes about each character. Now, if I were you, I would probably just write each character out and then just kind of take little notes, as you hear things throughout the story. So far it's getting pretty good. So make sure you're paying close attention. We must think what to do, Papa said. They are suspicious now. To be honest, I thought if they came here at all, and I hoped they wouldn't, that they would just glance around, see that we had no place to hide anyone, and would go away. I'm sorry I have dark hair, Ellen murmured. It made them suspicious. Mama reached over quickly and took Ellen's hand. You have beautiful hair, Ellen, just like your mama, she said. Don't ever be sorry for that. Weren't we lucky that Papa got thought so quickly and found the pictures? And weren't we lucky that Lise had dark hair when she was a baby? It turned blonde later on when she was 2 or so. In between, Papa added, she was bald for a while. Ellen and Anne-Marie both smiled tentatively. For a moment, their fear was eased. Tonight was the first time Anne-Marie realized suddenly that Mama and Papa had spoken of Lise. The first time in 3 years. Outside the sky was beginning to lighten. Mrs. Johansson went to the kitchen and began to make tea. I've never been up so early, Anne-Marie said. Ellen and I will probably fall asleep in school today. Papa rubbed his chin for a moment, thinking, I think we must not take the risk of sending you two to school today, he said. It is possible that they will look for Jewish children in the schools. Not go to school? Ellen asked in amazement. My parents have always told me that education is the most important thing. Whatever happens, I must get an education. This will only be a vacation, Ellen. For now, your safety is the most important thing. And I'm sure your parents would agree. Papa called Mom in the kitchen, and she came to the doorway with a teacup in her hand and a questioning look on her face. Yes, we must take the girls to Henrik's. You remember what Peter told us? I think today is the day to go to your brother's. Mrs. Johansson nodded. I think you are right, but I will take them. You must stay here. Stay here and let you go alone? Of course not. I wouldn't send you on a dangerous trip alone. Mama put a hand on Papa's arm. If only I go with the girls, it will be safer. They are unlikely to suspect a woman and her children. But if they are watching us, if they see us all leave, if they are aware that the apartment is empty, that you don't go to your office this morning, then they will know. Then it'll be dangerous. I'm not afraid to go alone. It was very seldom that Mama disagreed with Papa. Anne-Marie watched his face and knew that he was struggling with the decision. Finally, he nodded reluctantly. I will pack some things, Mama said. What time is it? Papa looked at his watch. Almost 5, he said. Henrik will still be there. He leaves around 5. Why don't you call him? Papa went to the telephone. Ellen looked puzzled. Who is Henrik? Where does he go at 5 in the morning? She asked him. Anne-Marie laughed. He's my uncle, my mother's brother, and he's a fisherman. They leave very early. All the fishermen, each morning, their boats go out at sunrise. Oh, Ellen, she went on, you will love it there. It is where my grandparents lived, where Mama and Uncle Henrik grew up. It is so beautiful, right on the water. You can stand at the edge of the meadow and look across to Sweden. She listened while Papa spoke on the telephone to Uncle Henrik, telling him that Mama and the children were coming for a visit. Ellen had gone into the bathroom and closed the door. Mama was still in the kitchen, and so Anne-Marie was listening. It was a very puzzling conversation. So, Henrik, is the weather good for fishing? Papa asked cheerfully and listened briefly. Then he continued, I'm sending Inge to you today with the children, and she will be bringing you a carton of cigarettes. Yeah, just one, he said. After a moment, Anne-Marie couldn't hear Uncle Henrik's words. But there are a lot of cigarettes available in Copenhagen now. if you know where to look, he went on, and so there will be others coming to you as well, I'm sure. But it wasn't sure. Anne-Marie was quite certain it wasn't true. Cigarettes were the thing that Papa missed, the way Mama missed coffee. He complained often. He had only complained only yesterday that there were no cigarettes in the stores. The men in his office, he said, making a face, smoked almost anything, sometimes dried weeds rolled in paper, and the smell was terrible. Why was Papa speaking that way? Almost as if he was speaking in code. What was Mama really taking to Uncle Henrik? Then she knew. It was Ellen. The train ride north along the Danish coast was very beautiful. Again and again, they could see the sea from the windows. Anne-Marie had made the trip often to visit her grandparents when they were alive, and later, after they had gone to see the cheerful, sun-tanned, unmarried uncle whom she loved. But the trip was new to Ellen, who sat with her face pressed to the window, watching the lovely homes along the seaside, the small farms and villages. "Look," Anne-Marie exclaimed, and pointed to the opposite side. "It's Klampenborg and the deer park. Oh, I wish we could stop here just for a little while." Mama shook her head. "Not today," she said. The train did stop at the small Klampenborg station, but none of the few passengers got off. "Have you ever been there, Ellen?" Mama asked. But Ellen said no. "Well, someday you will go. Someday you will walk through the park and you will see hundreds of deer, tame and free." Kirsty wriggled to her knees and peered through the window. "I don't see any deer," she complained. They are there, I'm sure," Mama told her. "They're hiding in the trees." The train started again. The door at the end of their car opened, and 2 German soldiers appeared. Anne-Marie tensed. Not here on the train, too. They were everywhere. Together, the soldiers strolled through the car, glancing at passengers, stopping here and there to ask a question. One of them had something stuck in his teeth. He probed with his tongue and distorted his own face. Anne-Marie watched with a kind of frightened fascination as the pair approached. One of the soldiers looked down with a bored expression on his face. "Where are you going?" he asked. Gilligay, I think, yeah. Mama replied calmly. "My brother lives there. We are going to visit him." The soldier turned away and Anne-Marie relaxed. Then, without warning, he turned back. "Are you visiting your brother for the new year?" he asked suddenly. Mama stared at him with a puzzled look. "New year?" she asked. It is only October." "And guess what?" Kirsty exclaimed suddenly in a loud voice, looking at the soldier. Anne-Marie's heart sank, and she looked at her mother. Mama's eyes were frightened. "Shh," Kirsty, Mama said. "Don't chatter so." But Kirsty paid no attention to Mama as usual. She looked cheerfully at the soldier, and Anne-Marie knew what she was about to say. "This is our friend Ellen, and it's her new year." But she didn't. Instead, Kirsty pointed at her feet. "I'm going to visit my Uncle Henrik," she chirped, "and I'm wearing my brand new shiny black shoes." The soldier chuckled and moved on. Anne-Marie gazed to the window again. The trees, the Baltic Sea, and the cloudy October sky passed in a blur as they continued north along the coast. "Smell the air," Mama said when they stepped off the train and made their way to the narrow street. "Isn't it lovely and fresh?" It always brings back memories for me. The air was breezy and cool, and carried the sharp, not unpleasant smell of salt and fish. High against the pale clouds, seagulls soared and cried out as if they were mourning. Mama looked at her watch. "I wonder if Henrik will be back yet. Doesn't it matter? But it doesn't matter. The house is always unlocked. Come on, girls, we'll walk. It isn't far, just a little under 2 miles. And it's a nice day. We'll take the path through the woods instead of the road. It's a little longer, but it's so pretty. Didn't you love the castle when we went through the Helsinger, Ellen?" Kirsty asked. She had been talking about Kronborg Castle ever since they had seen it, sprawling massive and ancient beside the sea. From the train. "I wish we could have stopped to visit the castle. Kings live there, and queens." Anne-Marie sighed in exasperation with her little sister. "They do not," she said. "They did in the old days, but there aren't kings in there now. Denmark only has 1 king anyway, and he lives in Copenhagen." But Kirsty had pranced away, skipping along the sidewalk. "Kings and queens," she sang happily. "Kings and queens." Mama shrugged and smiled. "Let her dream, Anne-Marie. I did the same when I was her age." She turned, leading the way along a tiny, twisting street, heading toward the outskirts of the village. Things have hardly changed here since I was a girl, she said. My Aunt Kitty lived here in that house, she pointed, and she's been dead for a year. But the house is the same. She's always had wonderful flowers in her garden. She peered over the low stone wall and looked at the few flowering bushes as they passed my house. Maybe they still do, but it's the wrong time of year. There are just those few chrysanthemums left. And see over there, she pointed again. My best friend, her name was Helena, lived in that house. Sometimes I used to spend the night with her, but more often she came to my house on weekends. It was more fun to be in the country. My brother Henrik always teased us so, she continued with a chuckle. He told us ghost stories and scared us half to death. The sidewalk ended and Mama turned into a dirt path bordered by trees. When I walked each morning into town for school, she said, my dog followed me this far. And the end of the path, he turned and went back home. I guess he was a country dog and didn't like town. And do you know what she went on, smiling? I had him named Trofast, faithful. And it wasn't just the right name for him because he was what faithful dog he was. Every afternoon, he was always right here, waiting for me to return. He knew the right time somehow. And sometimes I come around this bend, even today, and I feel as though I might come upon Trofast waiting for me. But the path was empty today. No people, no dogs. Mama shifted the bag she was carrying from one hand to another, and they walked through the woods until the path opened to a meadow dotted with cows. Here the path skirted the edge of the field, along a fence, and beyond it, they could see the gray sea ruffled by the wind. The breeze moved the high grass. At the end of the pasture, they entered the woods again, and Anne-Marie knew they would soon be there. Uncle Henrik's house was in a clearing beyond these woods. Do you mind if I run ahead? She asked suddenly. I want to be the first to see the house. Go on, Mama told her. Run ahead and tell the house we've come home. Then she put her arms around Ellen's shoulders and added, say we've brought a friend. All right, till next time.